Hello everyone, what's up? It's me again, Junkmaster3, and it's time, finally time for the very last video for the 90s series. So these are gonna be my top 10 favorite horror movies from the year 1999. So we'll see what happens after this video. I'm gonna continue with the 2000s, or maybe I'm gonna continue with the 2010s, or even the 70s. We'll see how it goes. I might as well actually make like some sort of like poll on my channel and see what decade you prefer me to make top 10 lists of or whatever. So but anyway, this is the top 10 horror movies from 1999. So before I continue with this particular video, I also wanted to say that there's one film in this top list which I wasn't able to find. I do know for a fact that I have that movie in my collection, but for some weird reason I just couldn't find it. I searched everywhere, it seems like. I probably passed on it like lots of times just when I used to look through the entire collection. But yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, let's begin right away with number 10. Number 10 is a slasher film which not many people talk about in general, but I think it has gotten a little bit more recognition like ever since this Blu-ray release was released. I had like a really old UK release of this film back in the day before Arrow actually released this on Blu-ray. So and it's the movie called Colobus. I'm not really sure if that's how you pronounce it, but it's very much in vein of like similar to like, I know it's weird to say similar like Scream, but it's sort of like one of those slasher films that came right after Scream, like the success of Scream, just like with Urban Legend and I Know What You Did Last Summer and even Valentine, Sheriff Falls, and some of those films. But this one is, I mean, I really like the acting in this one. I think it's a pretty neat little premise. I don't want to spoil anything else than that, but if you do like some of those films that I did mention right beforehand, I would definitely say go check this one out. It is actually really underrated in general, I would say. So yeah, Colobus. And then at number 9, we have a movie which I know for a fact probably most people really despise, but I have a soft spot for some of those like killer creature type of films in general. Um, and it is the movie called Komodo right here. Let's see here. And is this like an Australian release? Not Australian release, but like I think this is like an Australian American co-production. I can be totally wrong with that, but I remember some of the like effects in this one actually being decent for being like 1999. And I don't think I've ever seen, ever since I saw this film, I don't think I've seen a single horror movie that has like a killer like Komodo in it, which I thought was quite fascinating. But yeah, I mean, I really like the atmosphere in this one as well. I mean, and most people probably really despise this film. Some things haven't really aged well in general, but I really like the atmosphere. I think the atmosphere and the some of the effects and the locations really helps this film through. So it doesn't really feel like a run-of-the-mill type of killer creature film. I really think this is quite unique and quite interesting, just for the sake of having it like a Komodo in the film. But yeah, Komodo. If you do like animal attack movies and you haven't seen this one, check it out. Yeah, really underrated in general. And then at number 8, we have the movie which I wasn't able to find in my collection for some reason, one reason or another. I mean, I searched everywhere, like I said before, but it is Tim Burton's movie called Sleepy Hollow. And just like what I said with the Komodo, I think if we talk about atmosphere, this movie really oozes of atmosphere. Great actors all around, and it's basically based on this old Ichabod and Mr. Crane story with the headless horseman and all that. So if you've seen the Disney version from like the 40s, you kind of know what you're expecting with this one. But obviously, this is much darker, of course. But I just feel like Tim Burton was really the perfect choice for this film because I have a feeling that some of the producers probably looked back at his previous work, like the 2 Batman movies he directed and the Nightmare Before Christmas. I mean, he has a special type of vibe to it when it comes to his movies, and I always think that he creates really amazing atmospheres from most of the time, especially the ones they've made in the 80s and 90s in general. So I can totally see why they picked him as the director of this. So yeah, I mean, like I said before, an amazing cast, really great performances all around, great score as well. I mean, there's not too much to complain about in general, but yeah, if you haven't seen Sleepy Hollow, definitely go check it out. And right after this video, I might as well try to find that goddamn DVD. But anyway, yeah, Sleepy Hollow at number 8. And then at number 7 is another one of those animal attack movies. Now, this is definitely more of a more comedy, more so than actually horror movie, but it still has horror aspects to it, and it still categorizes as horror to a certain degree. Weird thing about this one, though, is that the back of this DVD states that this movie is a thriller comedy. You don't really hear thriller and comedies in the same sentence very often in general, but this is the movie called Lake Placid right here, with Bill Pullman, Bridget Fonda, and Oliver Platt. I don't really know whatever happened to Oliver Platt. He was in lots of really amazing and entertaining like 80s and 90s movies, and then he just feels like he's vanished. Of course, he's probably been in other movies, but I haven't seen him in a movie since probably this film. Um, but yeah, once again, great cast in general. It's basically self-explanatory, really. It's basically about this really, really big alligator. I think it has to be alligator, right? Um, I always confuse alligators with crocodiles. I believe alligators are the ones in the US, so this has to be alligators. So there we go. Anyway, this one also had lots of sequels, and I've only seen the first sequel, and I thought that one was pretty bad. But then again, I think most of those movies were actually made for TV production, so they had much lower budget than the original one. But this one also has a really fun cameo by Betty White. I think that is just really hilarious. But if you want some humor in your animal attack movie, this is definitely the film for you. And once again, the like I said before, the cast is great and the acting is great as well. I mean, some of the CG and not CG, but some of the effects are a little bit questionable from time to time. But overall, really entertaining film that I think more people should give a watch. So yeah, Lake Placid, right there at number 7. Oh, ironically, this one is at number 6, and this is actually part 6 in this series. And once again, this is a film that I know for a fact that people really despise, and I can already see people screaming at me for actually putting this at number 6. But I have a soft spot for this film because this entire franchise was probably pretty much like one of my first introductions to horror movies in general. And I can agree that this film does have problems, but there's just something about the atmosphere and the acting and the performances and all of that. The storyline is a little bit muddled, but yeah, whatever. And it is at number 6 we have Children of the Corn 666 Isaac's Return. Tried to say that really, really fast. No, that's really weird to say that, but this is basically like the return of Isaac in the series. I mean, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the original film. Now, the Children of the Corn franchise is just like a really weird franchise because this one still has some sort of connection with, of obviously, the first one. I feel after part 3, they kind of like threw that entire thing all out of the way. The only connection that they really have is that they kind of mention like He Who Walks by the Rose throughout most of this series in general. That's like the only thing that they actually do have in common when it comes to these movies. But this one basically plays it out like Isaac actually survived the first film, even though we don't really know what really happened with Isaac towards the end of the first film, because the last time we see him, he is basically like possessed by He Who Walks Behind the Rose, and then it just cuts off. So we didn't really know what happened to him, but apparently he's been in a coma for lots of years, and then he wakes up. And then obviously it's up to his old shenanigans again, and He Who Walks Behind the Rose is also involved, of course. Yeah, it's a model film, and I can understand why people don't like this film. But there's just something about this film. I think I've talked about this movie so many times, and especially the Children of the Corn franchise as a whole. But I really, really appreciate the opening credits as well. That really sets the mood for this entire film. Some of the characters are unlikable and whatnot, but I understand why people don't like the film, but I have a soft spot for it personally. So you don't bash me on that for that. But yeah. Anyway, Children of the Corn 666 Isaac's Return at number 6. And then we have another sequel. Let's see, how many sequels do we have in this? Okay, there's only one more. To be fair, there's only 2 sequels in this entire like top list. But anyway, at number 5 we have a sequel which is the Wishmaster 2, Evil Never Dies. Which also, this is sort of like I mean, it's the only connection with this one and the previous one, I believe, was just the fact that the Jinn is coming back to life, and he's once again played phenomenally by Andrew Divoff. I think he's just an amazing actor and a really underrated actor in general, and his performance as the Jinn is just so memorable in general. And I think I might have stated this before. If he would have been the Jinn in part 3 and part 4, I actually think that the Wishmaster series would probably be considered as cult classics and much higher regard, because the guy that replaced Andrew Divoff in part 3 and 4 is just very not as memorable and not as good as Andrew Divoff at all. I think it's kind of mediocre, to be fair. I mean, it's fine for what it is, but I mean, in comparison to Andrew Divoff, it's just not the same. This one once again has some really like dark humor to it, just like the first one has as well. But the whole premise is basically about this Jin, and he has to get some people to have like three wishes in order for him to like regain power or something. It's a little bit weird when it comes to like the whole structure to the movie in that regard. But I really like this movie because of the humor, the 90s atmosphere, the performance by Andrew Divoff. Of course, this one does have its problems as well. But if you have seen the first one and you haven't seen the second one, this is really, really underrated, and I think more people should give this one a watch. So, yeah, Wishmaster 2, Evil Never Dies. And number 5. And then at number 4, we have a movie which actually appeared in one of my older movie, not older movies, but my older top lists. I made like a top 10 cannibal films, I believe, back in, was this like a half a year ago or something? I don't really even remember when that one was uploaded, but this is one of those that were not an Italian production, and this is the movie called Ravenous, which I mean I probably already spoiled it for you because this is sort of like a cannibal film, but this takes place like in the, I don't really remember when this is supposed to take place, but it's supposed to take place like it's like a older setting and stuff, and they suspect that this character played by Robert Carlyle is actually a cannibal, and this is surprisingly like violent and gory for like a production like this. You wouldn't really suspect that when it comes to some of these actors that they would appear in a film like this, but um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about the movie. I've already talked about this one a little bit, but and once again, I don't want to spoil it too much for you if you haven't seen it, but yeah, Ravenous. It's sort of like a weird survival type of story as well. So yeah, and then at number 3, we have a movie by David Cronenberg, and I think to this day that this is one of his most underrated movies in general. This is one of my favorite ones of his. Maybe not as good as Videodrome or The Fly, but still a really amazing film nonetheless. And it is his movie called Existence. Some people would probably say, well, is this really a horror film? Well, I would say this is definitely a body horror type of deal because it has like all of these weird aspects to the film. It's like a thriller, it's a horror film, and it's like sort of like a drama film as well. It's just like a very strange film. It's basically about these people that play this game, and they don't really know if the game is real or not. So it's like sort of like that aspect to the film that is this reality or is this just some sort of dream? That's sort of like the question of the whole film in general. So these people are playing this game created by Jennifer Jason Leigh's character, which is called Existence. And then there's like some weird things where they have to like plug in some sort of like console into the body in order to play the game. And yeah, it's some really freaking, like really cool looking effects as well, and sort of gross in a certain way as well. And for those of you who probably haven't seen this film before, you're probably thinking, is this actually happening in the film that he has like this gun made out of flesh and bones? That is actually happening in the film, so the cover art doesn't lie this time around. And that scene with that the restaurant scene as well is just really memorable and really creepy and really, yeah, the atmosphere is great. I think I'm not completely wrong with this. I think the soundtrack was, yeah, the soundtrack was made by Howard Shore, so you know definitely you're gonna get some really great atmosphere when it comes to this movie if that guy's involved. So, and yeah, once again, a great cast as well. You have Jennifer Jason Leigh, Jude Law, and the main roles, title roles, right here on the front cover. And you also have Ian Holm, also known as Bilbo, if you want to call him that. And you also have a really fun like cameo role by Willem Dafoe as well. So yeah, if you haven't seen this movie and if you're a fan of David Cronenberg or body horror in general and you haven't seen this film, go check it out. It's very, very entertaining and really creepy as well, I would say. So yeah, Existence. I remember the first time I watched that, I was like in the middle of the night and I was just like, what did I just experience? Speaking about experiences, now the next movie was also a really weird experience, and this is at number 2 right here. And this movie is directed by none other than Takashi Miike, and you have already seen it. Audition right here, which I would still to this day, I would say this is one of his best movies that he's made. But then again, it's really hard to say that because he's directed so many great films, and there's so many films that I have yet to watch because he's like directed more than 100 films. So there's lots of movies to go through if you in order to catch up with all of that. And I think most of those films, not all, most of them, but very many of those are not haven't even gotten a release over here in general. So um, but yeah, this one, I mean, it's basically about this father who is now a single father with this, I believe it's his son, yeah. And his son basically tells him that he really needs a partner, and he like wants to have like a mother again, you could say. So the father kind of sets up this weird audition where he like tries to connect with some of these ladies in order to try to find a new wife for himself. And he picks the worst lady possible because she turns out to be not who she claims to be. Uh, Mainly like a really, like pretty much like a lunatic. I don't want to say anything else than that. This one has like a weird, not necessarily. I mean, I would almost say this is more like a really, really, really dark drama film with horror like horror stuff shoved into it. Even though I'd still say this is a horror film, but I would say it's more focused on the drama and like the character development in general. Um, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about the movie. I think the cinematography is great, the music is great, great acting all around. So yeah, if you haven't seen Audition, and or if you're a fan of Takeshi Miike and haven't seen this one yet, go check it out. It's really great. So yeah, Audition at number two. And then number one, we have a movie which I've seen so many times, I never get tired of it. And I know some people don't like this one, and I totally understand why. But I've always have a soft spot for this film, and ever since I saw it for the first time, I was just like really interested in getting this on DVD. So anyway, this is the movie, The Blair Witch Project, number one. Now this movie has been discussed to death, like in forums and like internet in general, like all over the years. But this, I mean, some people would say, "Oh, this is the first shot on not shot on video, but the first found footage film." And I'm like, "No, you're totally wrong. There was actually a movie which was like released like 1 or 2 years prior to this one, which was called The Lost Broadcast, I believe, and that one was very good in my personal opinion. I think it was decent, but it's like kind of forgettable. And then also you have, of course, you have like the Cannibal Holocaust, which is, I would still say is probably the very first found footage type of horror film. But this one is what really popularized the entire genre. And then after this, we got so many like rip-off films, or like not rip-off films, but like way worse found footage films in general. Why this movie works so well is because it takes place out in the woods, and this movie was also released at the perfect timing as well, because this was like back in the day when not everyone had internet yet, and you couldn't really find all of the information. So when people went to watch this at the local cinema, they actually thought that these poor people were actually missing for real. So it actually says there on the front cover: in October of 1994, three student filmmakers disappeared in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland, while shooting a documentary. A year later, their footage was found. So people actually thought this was real, and they actually set up like posters as well, so people actually thought that these people were missing. And I just thought that was just so really like really clever type of like marketing for this film. So the marketing for this film was just really phenomenal as well, and I think probably that's also the reason why this was so successful in the first place. Some people just usually say, those people that don't like this film usually just say, oh, it's just about three people just screaming out in the woods. But I think the atmosphere is great, great acting all around. And yeah, and some people don't say that doesn't really happen anything in the film, but I think it just feels so realistic and so creepy to the point that you almost feel like this is a real thing. Especially the first time when you watch this film, because the first time I watched this, I remember I was like up very very late, or maybe I used to actually fall asleep on the couch, and then I woke up and this movie was on. And I think this was just right before the sun came up again. So towards the end of the film, the sun actually came up. So it was sort of like, I mean, obviously get up right there, but it was such an amazing type of atmosphere and an amazing experience, because you know those early morning hours just before the sun goes up and it's still sort of like bright outside. Uh, that's when this movie ended, and that was just, I'll never forget that experience. I used to really love that experience, and that was the first time I watched it as well. Um, but and also I think this is also very fascinating just because of the fact that there's so many types of ways you could like interpret this film that some people would say they have so many different types of theories as to what really happened in this film, like what is the background story, what really happened to these people, did anyone else actually do this, like did any of the characters in this film lure out someone else into the woods to just to get rid of them. So some people have even said like it's a curse and they never like get out of there because they're stuck in time or something. I think it's just really fascinating and interesting to read all of those theories as well. So, and that's also the reason why this is so rewatchable as well. So anyway, that's it for this film. Yeah, I love the Blair Witch Project. I actually even like the second one as well, Book of Shadows. I know some people really don't really despise that one, but I think that tried to get it into another direction. I thought that was quite fascinating as well. But then again, this one is the best one in the series. The one just called Blair Witch, which is sort of like a which ignores the second one and kind of sort of like a continuation of this film. That one didn't work at all for me, especially the very first opening sequence where they, I don't know even going to spoil if you do want to watch the film, but it doesn't make any sense at all. But yeah, this film, if you haven't seen this one, and if you're a fan of horror movies, or if you're a fan of found footage films in general and you haven't seen this one, go check it out. But I think most people are horror films. I think probably most horror fans have already seen this one at this point. So, but anyway, yeah, the Blair Witch Project, the number one. So yeah. So there we go. That's my top 10 favorite horror movies from the year 1999. Now I just really need to get a hold of that Sleepy Hollow DVD in the collection somewhere. Um, and yeah, I mean, like I said before in the beginning of this video, I am considering to continue this series. Not this series, because the 90s series is now officially over, but I'm going to try to make a similar one with like either the 2000s, the 2010s, or the 70s. So I might as well put like a poll up on my channel so you can vote for which decade you would prefer me to do next, or like the next series or whatnot. So but anyway, hope you enjoyed this particular video. If you did like the video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment or two. If you have seen any of these movies, please let me know in the comment section. Do you think I'm totally wrong with the rankings or whatever? Please let me know that as well. And if you would like to follow me on YouTube in general, you can just subscribe to my channel, and you will get similar content like this in the near future. So but anyway, hope you enjoyed this particular video, and see you next time. Bye bye.